Okay, so I get asked all the time, do chart patterns actually work? Well, the real answer is no. I'm joking, of course, chart patterns do work. That's all we do as traders. We're looking for something that happens again and again. And if it plays out more often than not, we can now base a trading strategy with that, based on rules, what to do, what not to do. And as a result, we've got our own trading strategy. So 100% chart patterns work. Doesn't matter what strategy you're using, you are using some form of pattern concept that you've seen the market happen time and time again. You've back tested and you can see for yourself that it plays out more often than not, and as a result you can now have a trading strategy. So 100% chart patterns do work. But I know a lot of people are thinking about double tops, triple tops and bull flags, very basic and generic patterns, and they feel like it doesn't work because everyone trades it, when in actual fact, if you actually go do your own testing, you can actually see they do play out more often than not. A particular element of those chart patterns that a lot of people are missing out on is knowing when to use it, which I will go into some detail in the video, but I'll do more more in-depth videos on when to use stuff in the future. So please do subscribe to the channel and leave a like as well whilst you're there. But double tops, triple tops, stuff that I do use in my own trading. You can check out my trading. I do live streams every week, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, if you haven't already checked them out. And I do have a trade that I placed on gold earlier this week, which I'll go through one particular aspect of it because I'm using a particular pattern in a certain way, which I will show you guys in the video later on. But yeah, feel free to tune into the live streams if you haven't done already. But the key thing you want to know when you are trading chart patterns, well, the two key things you need to know when you are trading patterns is, number one, how often does that pattern occur? And number two, the win rate of that pattern. And knowing these two concepts will allow you to have a more in-depth understanding of your chart pattern's performance in the long run. And say, for example, you have a chart pattern that appears every single minute of every single day, so the occurrence is very, very high. This means that the chart pattern doesn't have too much meaning or too much value if it's happening all the time, because by definition, something that has a bit of scarcity or something that's a bit rare, has a bit more value. Something that happens all the time, it's not really valuable because it happens all the time. So to make something have more value and be a bit more scarce, you can add more confluence to the chart pattern, combining two different chart patterns together: support and resistance, supply and demand, trend lines, moving averages, market structure, high time frame trend. All of that stuff can add to confluence of a chart pattern, and I do have a very, very good example in the video coming up, so make sure you do stay in tune for that. But when you are trading the chart pattern, you want to be looking at your charts, scanning through the market, seeing nothing, and then when it comes, your eyes light up and you're like, okay, now it's time to press the trigger. So you want something of that type of thought process and feeling, not seeing it everywhere and then debating which setup to choose, because your decision making won't be as good, and frankly it's probably not that good of a pattern if it happens all the time. And not saying that it plays out all the time, just appears all the time. So do take that into account when deciding the chart patterns you want to trade. And number two, obviously the win rate. You want to know how often it plays out, and again, back testing will give you a good understanding of how often it plays out. I would recommend do some live testing as well, because added psychology and the pressure of live trading, you probably won't hit as high as a win rate as you did in back testing as you do live testing. So you want to get that number known as well. But when you're understanding your strategy, your chart pattern, you want to know how often it plays out. And technically speaking, if it plays out 51% of the time, it's a pattern. Why? Because it plays out more than it doesn't. If something had a 30% win rate, it's not really a pattern. It does happen 30% of the time, but it doesn't work as much as it does work. So it doesn't. Does that make sense? It doesn't work. It doesn't work more often. Basically what I'm trying to say is the pattern doesn't work more often than it does work, if you catch my drift. But then again, this can still be perfectly fine if you have a good risk reward. So people with very, very low win rate can still be profitable if they have a good risk reward. And I'll do a video breaking that down in detail in the future, so make sure you are subscribed for that video. So hopefully that information has helped, guys. But like I said, I will be going over my gold trade now. I will be going over particularly a pattern that I use on the weekly time frame for the trade, just to give you guys an understanding of chart patterns and making sure you're adding confidence to them. So let's get into it. Okay guys, so welcome to the chart. So as you can see, I've got my gold position here, which I got short on Tuesday at 10 a.m. So it's played out pretty well. Almost came to TPs, pulling back slightly there, but I've already secured my partials and break even. So I'm just gonna let the trade play out. But I'll do a more in-depth breakdown of the trade and all the reasons why I took the trade and trade management and the process. So do look out for the video, but today we'll just talk about a specific part of one of the reasons why I did take this trade, and that comes on the weekly time frame. Now, so like I said to you guys, chart patterns, you want chart patterns to be scarce, not so scarce that they never trade, but scarce enough that it gives you good opportunities, but not every single minute or every single hour of the day. So you want some scarcity to it, and you can do that by adding confluence to your trades. So I was using a generic engulfing bearish candle here, which you can see on the weekly time frame represented by this candlestick here. And this candlestick, very powerful, because on the weekly time frame it gave me a very good idea of what the next weekly candle could do, which is again be bearish, hence why I'm selling. So you can see this is the current weekly candle, which is open. You can see on the right there 11 hours 26 minutes left of this candle. But I have got short on this one, and again expecting the next week to be bearish. But I'm not just using any bearish engulfing candle just because I've seen the bearish engulfing. I've added a lot of confluence to this. Number one, you can see what is the current trend. It is to the downside here on the weekly time frame. You can see the consistent lower lows and lower highs in the market if I map them out. So again, utilizing the market structure, again we're expecting this to be a new lower high in the market for another drive to the downside to go and take out those lows. You can see we have this trend line confirming that. Also, I was using the 8 EMA as well. If I just whip that out for you guys right now, 8 EMA, again a really nice tight exponential moving average for candlesticks. You can see we came into that 8, nice bearish engulfing, so I was expecting us to continue to the downside. We also had a break and retest of this price support area here. So as you can see, beautiful support 1 and 2 was retesting as resistance, and also if I do carry that across, you can see it's just not any support, term resistance, a very major key level that held big moves to the upside, big wick rejection, big moves to the upside, and now we're rejecting that with a bearish engulfing on the weekly. You can see on the monthly time frame, momentum is to the downside as well, snapping through the same level. And we can see that on the daily time frame, we're also getting this nice bearish trend there, breaking through some structure and getting a nice little retest there on the daily. So there's multiple reasons why I'm expecting the market to head lower. And also we've got the rejection of 1700, which is a very key psychological level for gold, which we just rejected with a huge bearish engulfing on the weekly time frame. So that's looking at the weekly, using a little bit of the monthly and the daily to add confidence to it. But there's multiple reasons why I'm expecting this bearish engulfing to play out. I'm not looking at every single bearish engulfing, bullish engulfing, looking to anticipate the next following week. But for this particular week, I've got a lot of confidence in the direction. So I'm expecting this week here to be bearish. At the time I was taking the trade, this candlestick here was actually bullish, but I was expecting it to flip bearish based on all those reasons from the weekly time frame that we could be seeing a bearish candle closure for this week's price action. So this wick to the upside on the weekly time frame actually gave me the entries that I needed in full H, and again I'll go all over the entries and the management and everything in a different video. But that is a very powerful way to take a generic basic candlestick pattern like a bullish engulfing and turn it into something very powerful, where you can actually use it to predict the next week's price action to a very high degree. So when you are choosing your chart patterns, you can look at double tops, triple tops. We'll do future videos on how to use them correctly and well as well, so do stay tuned for that. But you can take very simple generic trading strategies, apply a lot of confluence to them so they become a bit more scarce, a bit more value, and then you can have very high quality setups, not using anything too fancy in the markets. Obviously you can learn more detailed and more complex strategies if you want to. I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you just don't have to. So you don't want to put yourself in that situation where everything generic or basic that you see just doesn't work, so I have to learn something crazy. If you want to, feel free, but these do work. You just need to learn how to use them. Okay guys, so that is the end of the video. So hopefully you have found it useful. If there's a particular video, a particular idea you want to see on the channel, let me know in the comments down below and I'll make sure I add it to the list. If you have enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like. If you're new here, feel free to subscribe, become part of the family. I do stream every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, my live trading. So feel free to pop into that as well. But thank you so much for watching the video, guys. Take care and have a great day.